Honourable Speaker, අද දින විවාදිත ගෙනෙන බලශක්ති අමාත්‍යාංශයේ සහ ජල සම්පාදන අමාත්‍යාංශයේ වැය ශීර්ෂවල රුපියල් 10ක් කපා හැරීමෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. මුලින්ම මම මගේ කතාවට එන්න පෙර විදුලි බලශක්ති අමාත්‍යතුමාගෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරන්න කැමති. මුලින්ම මම මේක තමයි මේ විෂය පිළිබඳව සභාගරුවෙත් කියා සිටියා. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ආගමික සිද්ධාස්ථානවලට පනවලා තියෙන මේ අලුතින් සංශෝධිත විදුලි බල බිල පිළිබඳ විශාල ආందోලනාත්මක තත්ත්වයක් තිබෙනවා. ඔබතුමා ඒක දන්නවා. හැම ආගමික සිද්ධාස්ථානයකටම මේක දරා ගන්න බැරි තත්ත්වයක් තිබුණත් සමහර ආගමික සිද්ධාස්ථාන තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. පොසත් පන්සල් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, පල්ලි තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, කෝවිල් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් දුෂ්කර ප්‍රදේශවල මේ සිද්ධාස්ථානවලට විශාල ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙලා තිබෙනවා. මේ පිළිබඳව අර පුරන්ජනනීය විදුලි බල ක්‍රමයක් ලබා දෙන්න කටයුතු කරනවායි කියලා කිව්වට ඒකටත් විශාල කාලයක් ගත වෙනවා. ඒකට විවිධමක් ගත වෙනවා. ඒ පිළිබඳව යම් ක්‍රමවේදයක් අවශ්‍යයි. පිළිබඳව යම් විදිහකින් යම් උත්තරයක් ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් අපි ඒ පිළිබඳව සූතිවන්ත වෙනවා. Mr. Speaker, I would like to deal with this subject of the two important ministries which is being debated today, both the power and energy as well as water supply. We know that the country is emerging from a very difficult crisis situation. The economy is contracting. With the contraction of the economy, all sectors are getting seriously affected. These two public utilities are connected with the daily life of everyone in this country, not simply the citizens, even the business sector. Therefore, when Sri Lanka emerges from these socio-economic disruptions, particularly when it comes to price revisions, we know with the staff level agreement of the International Monetary Fund, the government is obliged to try, and particularly in the areas of public utilities, to have cost reflective pricing. Now this issue, as far as the water supply sector is concerned, I know for certain because I as a minister in the past have several times tried to revise the charges in the water supply sector, but due to a variety of political reasons, it became virtually impossible. But however, now almost 70% increase in the water tariff has taken place. But I would like to tell the minister that the common criteria in most part of the world, the developed world, is that when it comes to pricing of electricity and water, it should be considered as a 2:3 formula. Now, for instance, in places like Singapore, if electricity tariff is 300 rupees, the water tariff should be 200. But this is the common practice in most of the countries where this type of pricing is adopted. But of course, we have had long resistance to price revision in these areas. But we know for certain that energy costs when it comes to water purification is also quite high. Apart from that, I'm pleased to hear from both these sectors that as a policy decision, recruitments have all been curtailed. And that is a welcome matter. But when it comes to essential recruitment, there is no bar to make those recruitments. In the meantime, now in the water sector, we find there was a very ambitious program to allocate almost 1 trillion rupees for a 5-year span. I have in the past also questioned this, because whether this is a very realistic target, for the reason that it is not simply increasing the water distribution in the country. What about the water sources? Now, if I analyze this issue, now you will understand that to reach this level now of almost, now we have, it is understood that almost 53% of pipe-borne water supply, we have, now we extract almost about 2 million cubic meters per day from variety of water sources. Now we are expecting to add another 24% coverage. Now to achieve this almost 45% coverage, we took almost 70 years. But within another further 5 years, a very short period, we are trying to achieve an additional 24% coverage. Now that would mean we will need another further almost 2 million cubic meters of water. Now where are we going to extract this from? Now this is the biggest problem. So therefore, in your public investment program, it is important for us to look at the existing water sources. Now we must say that both the Power and Energy Ministry as well as the Water Supply Ministry is fortunate enough for the last 2 years, we have had plenty of rainfall. Right? That is because of the El Nino effect, they say. Right? We may face drought in the coming years, then situation might become much worse. So with these situations, it is important for us to have dedicated reservoirs. Now there has been reservoir areas identified. Now I'm talking about Yatimahana and Vioya. These two reservoirs, I wonder where the projects are now, but these studies have been done in the past. Yatimahana for the northwestern province and Vioya for the western province, or rather Colombo district basically. So then we have Vandurupinu also in the northwestern province. Then we also had a suggestion about the Hadoya in the Monragala district and Ampara district. But basically for the coastal areas of Ampara district, the Hadoya reservoir. Then we have the Unniche tank. Then Urusita Vava in the south. Then Parangiaru in the north. Now these are areas where these reservoirs being set up. These are dedicated reservoirs for water supply, and these matters had to be given some priority. Of course, now with the meager allocations that have been given, whether these are possible is another issue. But if you are going to go ahead with this ambitious program of trying to supply water or rather have pipe-borne water supply increase to 78%, that is a matter regarding which we may have to pay our attention. Now, I am told, I don't know, the Honourable Minister may have to reply, that the 78% expected coverage has now been scaled down to 64% because of the difficulties that currently the country is faced with. Now, with this in mind, I would like to also refer to this particular publication that has been put out in every year ahead of the budget by the Institute of Policy Studies, Sri Lanka State of the Economy report, From Crisis to Recovery, Driving Policy Action Through Sustainable Development Agenda. Now this one is an important book, and here it's important for us to, I quote from this book, as Sri Lanka emerges from the socio-economic disruptions of the coronavirus pandemic to face its worst ever economic crisis since independence, the lack of political discipline and poor institutional coordination in the policy arena is once again in spotlight. Now, I'm quoting this issue, this particular chapter for a specific reason, because they say the public investment program is sometimes unrealistic. When you look at particularly the water supply sector, this enormous 1 trillion allocation over the next 5 years is certainly not achievable given the current situation in the country. So, though it is welcome for us to talk about such a big investment, I am sure this has to be scaled down. I would like the Minister to specifically state whether the so-called ambitious program of achieving 78% pipe-borne coverage, whether it had been scaled down in the face of the current crisis that we have encountered. So, now I would like to also refer to some other issues pertaining to the water supply sector. I am told, in fact, I asked the General Manager this morning that I am told that almost 4,000 kilometers of pipes to cover about 4,000 kilometers have been imported post-haste. And all these pipes are now stuck in the Sri Lanka ports because you can't clear them. No money. Now, I am told that two or three important contractors, one has about 78 containers stuck there, another about 60 containers stuck. Water Board has supposedly cleared about 450 containers, but still the Bank of Ceylon has not honored the letters of credit. So, all of which are stuck. Now, almost 4,000 kilometers length of pipes in containers are now, they are finding it difficult to clear them. Now, I am told that this is for the infilling program. That's because existing treatment plants, there are excess capacity. Now, we had this issue even in the past for, due to some bad planning. Now, we had this Kolonna Balangoda project. Treatment plant was built, but only 6 kilometers of distribution was possible with the allocated funds from the foreign source. So, for a long time, the distribution network remained without being extended. So, having had the treatment plant and water available, so there are in-plant, the infilling improvement in most of the plants is possible, and there had been a report in the corporate plan which talked about their projections regarding the infilling project. But whether all of this could be achieved now with the current budget allocations, all these ambitious programs will have to be brought down. I was told with the new tariff revisions, the Water Board will be able to almost double their revenue to almost 54 billion, according to the General Manager, to whom when I spoke and clarified this, he said we could manage, but then if we are to pay back all the loan installments, this may not suffice. Yes. I remember no, I was talking about the new tariff and the adequacy of the Water Board to meet their commitments. But with it would be inevitable that subsequently. And yearly in the past, there had been revision every 3 years. But unfortunately, due to political interventions, this revision was being stalled for almost 1 decade or more, from almost 2009 up until I gave up in 2019. We were unable to revise the tariff due to political reasons. Now, of course, the given situation, at least some kind of some wisdom has dawned on the government that finally revision was possible. But however, with whatever revisions, the ambitious program of the government may not be possible because of other constraints. Now, we find several other projects. Now, what about the now, this is the time where we must try and introduce public-private partnership to projects implemented by both the Power and Energy Ministry as well as the Water Supply Ministry. In the past, there was so much of resistance to these type of novel investments in public utilities. But then there is no other choice for us to try and experiment PPP projects in both these areas. So there was already planned project in Colombo, which got stalled because of various objections and also some various other technical reasons. Now it's time. Now the Velivita project is one which we a lot of planning had gone into it. The ADB came up with support for this. The World Bank too was involved in it. So project funding was available, and the tender process also had begun. But then I do not know the current status of these projects. It's time that we try and implement. I don't know whether a PPP project will now succeed with the economy in this situation, because we need to get investors to come in and start investing in our public utilities. And of course, we will have to see whether the gap financing issue also had to be in a novel way sorted out. Then I would also like to request the Honourable Minister to know the progress regarding the controversy regarding the water supply for the Jaffna Peninsula, which with the Eranamadu tank, there was an effort for us to try and increase the capacity of the tank. There was funding made available. After having increased the capacity, farmers in the Kilinochchi district started protesting for no reason, because of some political reasons. But I think this is a matter regarding which some kind of agreement will have to be reached, and this be made possible, because although there is going to be a desalination project that was to be set up in Jaffna, but that alone may not suffice. That has to be an alternative. There has to be an alternative to have this project implemented so that the cost issues can be managed. Otherwise, we will face further problems in these areas. So several other such projects have been held up. We feel that with the current negotiations regarding debt sustainability, the foreign loans that have been obtained all stand suspended, and most of the projects funded by various bilateral agencies and other banks which have extended the funds, since the suspension, these projects also may come to a standstill. I am told that from about February last year, some of these repayments have all been suspended, because of which important projects are in danger of getting stalled. So one of which is the Kandy North water supply scheme, for which almost 53 billion was given on a concessional loan facility by the yes by the Chinese bank. The Chinese Exim Bank was the funding agency, but then now that particular project supplies water to almost 4 different electorates in Kandy district, in the Kandy North area, the Pathadumbara, Harispatwa, Yatinuwara. So this particular project, almost on the verge of getting completed, is now, because of this debt negotiations, may not get the required funding, and then the completion may get unnecessarily delayed, because these are areas where the requirement for pipe-borne water supply has increased so much in the past. And similarly, Kundasala Haragama project also got suspended long before that. That area too is a fast developing area, the urbanizing area, and this project too needs to be considered in the pipeline for completion. I'm sure if this ambitious 78% coverage project remains as it stands, possibly all these projects could be completed, but I'm sure this has to be scaled down because of the current crisis that the country is faced with. With all these problems, it is important for us to be more transparent in what we do and make the public aware of what the respective ministries and those public utilities are doing, so that they will know in advance whether the intended projects are to be completed in time, or whether there is going to be further extended period within which this had to be completed. With those comments, I expect that the Honourable Ministers will give us the necessary reply for the questions that we have raised today in this debate. Thank you.